All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here again, talking about real music in real time for real people. Just like you, just like me. We're also talking about real issues on this channel. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Patreon, a lot of new patrons. Thank you so much for hitting that little Patreon button and doing $1 a month or $2 or whatever you can afford. I want to talk about this guy, Sully Erna. Or Sully Erna. Sorry, I already messed his name up. He is the front man for the band Godsmack. Not too happy with that name. Should be God's love or God's omniscience or God's presence, but it is Godsmack. All right. And, you know, you have to go where the news takes you. And if somebody is normal and allied with logical, critical thinking, then you definitely want to talk about what he's saying. Sully Erna has taken a swipe at celebrities, including fellow musicians who have used their high-profile... Do musicians really have high-profile voices? No, they really don't, for the most part. Some of them do, but this love of the celebrity culture, to me, is one of the biggest problems in our world right now. I love Joe Rogan, for instance, but the reason people are paying attention to Joe Rogan is because so many people admire him as a celebrity. But yet when your doctor down the street says something similar to what Joe Rogan is saying, or some other doctor maybe you have never heard of, but who's got, you know, I don't know, 12 years of college and then all this experience in the practice itself, they say something, yeah, but, you know, if Sully Erna says something or Joe Rogan says something, people are like, ooh, I want to hear what they have to say. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to just push back a little bit on this and say, Sully is not a doctor. Joe Rogan is not a doctor. Okay. But I like the fact that they are both doing basically their own homework. I know, again, the New York Times or Washington Post has said that it is a really bad idea to do your own research. Very bad, because you're not a professional. Whatever that means. Okay. You're not a professional researcher. You mean you can't use Google? You can't do research? By the way, I would probably suggest DuckDuckGo if you're going to do any kind of research. So this guy Sully has really condemned these people who are out there encouraging their followers to do medical behaviors. I think that's a good way. It's a good sort of obfuscation phrase, saying they should shut up and let people live their lives. Boom. Okay. So Sully Erna just went way up in my estimation. I don't know one song by Godsmack, just putting it out there and being honest with you. Erna, who recently confirmed that politics played a part in his decision to relocate Godsmack to Florida, which, okay, can I do a full stop on the word politics? Can I just, I think folks need a little, this writer, typical website, by the way, who I get all this material from because they have to do the copy and paste. So here comes their copy and paste. So Erna moved the band to Florida, which leans Republican in presidential elections, on a part-time basis while maintaining a home in New Hampshire. New Hampshire, by the way, also leans, they don't say this, but New Hampshire kind of used to lean Republican, but of course they've been overrun with people from Massachusetts who are trying to escape the taxation, and they go to New Hampshire. See, folks, this isn't about politics, okay? Everything they say here is about being practical. Like, do I want to avoid being taxed a lot? Do I want to have more freedom in my life? Do I not want to be locked down and mandated especially here with the new Dodge Omni variant. Check out my video about Bryan Adams if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's another euphemism here, and it's supposed to be funny, but for some of us, it is really just sad. I watched a whole 20 minutes of coverage this morning about the new Dodge Omni variant. And yeah, it's a crisis. It's a scandal. It's, you know, even though there's no recorded cases from what I can tell here in the States, there may be, they just haven't found them yet, and they're going to find them today. Guarantee you by noontime today or by the 6 o'clock news tonight, you're going to be just overwhelmed with the Dodge Omni, as I was back in 1990 when I drove, I believe, a 1985 Omni around, had the hatchback. I could put all my records in there. It was really great, you know, going to gigs and great gas mileage too. And today we need that gas mileage. So I'm thinking, hey, Dodge, if you're thinking about, you know, sort of resurrecting a car, the Dodge Omni would be that car. You know, you streamline it a little bit. Anyway, let's get back to this guy, Sully Erna. But they have to, here's what drives me crazy. So they basically do this fact-checking thing that he moved to Florida, right? Which, oh my gosh. And by the way, I live in Florida, and I can tell you, a lot of people are moving here because it's better. It's better. It's not perfect because you still have these losers in various counties, mostly these counties that have large cities where these people are trying to run their cities into the ground, all right? And the population concentration makes for really bad voting. Let me just put it out there. And I don't care if you're a blue person, a red person, doesn't really matter what color voter you are, all right? What is concerning is that blue people seem to want to lock everything down and to make your life miserable. And they want to control you. There's no question. So there are people who want freedom, by the way, who aren't Republican or red. They just wake up in the morning and they go, you know what? I don't like this. I don't like being afraid all the time. I don't like when the media does this 24/7. Okay. So Erna discussed his views on celebrity health campaigns. That's what it is. It's a nonstop campaign. And this is why when I hear some of these people talking, I'm thinking, are they being paid? Because a campaign, right? When you run a campaign, you need money to run a campaign, right? Because you're going to get the word out. You're going to do literature. You're going to do PSAs. You're going to do whatever. So anyway, he's speaking about the star-studded thing endorsements, people who are endorsing the thing. And it has become a major part of public health. I like to call it the religion of public health in the thing-demic era. The 53-year-old singer-guitarist said. He goes on to say, I get paid to be an entertainer. That's the position I've chose. So I'll focus on entertaining, making people smile, healing people through music. And anybody else that's out there in a celebrity status that's pushing people one way or the other, when you have no experience as a medical expert, boom, or a politician, double boom, my advice is to shut up and let people live their lives, because you don't know the consequences when you push them one way or the other. So why don't you do what you're great at and entertain, because that's what you are. That's the position I've taken, and that's the position I'm going to stand with. I'm going to write my music. I'm going to put on great live shows, and I'm going to help people escape a lot of their daily problems, hopefully, that they have to face regardless. Now, this was a thing before the thing-demic hit, is that people wanted to escape through music. In other words, I want to go out on Friday night and go to a show and be entertained and feel good and go home and, live my life. But this is a part of, my disposable income. Is it worth it to me to go out and be constrained and have to produce a QR code for somebody, right? Because then all of my private business is now available to Live Nation, which basically is another government outreach as far as I'm concerned, just like Walmart is, just like all of these corporations, their funding is tied. If you can't get an exemption from something because, well, we take Medicare, right? And I know this directly now. We take Medicare, and Medicare says that you have to do this or you're just going to lose your job, because that's more important. We need the funding from the government organizations. And to me, that's a travesty. And that's why we need to decentralize all of this power and bring it back to the states, back to the local people who can make decisions better for themselves and for their communities. Very simple. People in DC are now just accumulating more power. These politicians, they stay in office for decades in some cases. Sometimes they live their entire life. There's a guy, is it Chuck Grassley? I think he's from Iowa or something like that. And he's been there for so long, and he wants to run again. And I think he'll be like 95 after his next Senate term. It's just insane. So yeah, a little bit of a tangent there. This past March, Erna told the Mistress Carrie podcast about his move to Florida. I've been looking at an alternate home area for a while now. California was on my radar just because I have a lot of friends there. My business is there and I love the weather. But when all this political crap went down, it really turned me off. The thought process and the ways of being for a lot of these, he calls them liberals. I would use a stronger word at this point, and people that I just can't connect with on that wavelength. So he can't relate to these people. That's what he's saying in a nice way. So it kind of bummed me out to a point where I'm like, I don't really want to go 3,000 miles across the country to pay triple the amount of money to live in that kind of nonsense and be locked down. Anyway, the article does some copying and pasting. With Governor Ron DeSantis at the helm, Florida is considered to be the most lax state. See how they kind of twist it? How about free? How about free instead of lax? When it comes to thing restrictions in North America. And by the way, Florida seems to be the most prosperous state as well. It seems to be the state where more people are moving to. It's got great weather for the most part already. They go on to connect Erna with Trump later on. Of course, they have to do that, because then when you connect this guy with Donald Trump, you impugn his character. This is why I say to people, don't connect yourself with one politician like Trump. Connect yourself with an idea. Connect yourself with an ideology. Connect yourself with freedom and liberty, all right? Because personalities, whether they're political personalities, whether they're music personalities, even in the religious world, there are certain religious figures and personalities. When you start to connect, then people can kind of brand you as something that you probably are not at all. You know, you're not probably what that other person is, but yet they're going to connect you with that and they'll impugn your character. All right. So, and then they're saying Erna came under fire for sharing a post that was flagged as part of, do you believe this, as Facebook's efforts to combat false news? Okay, well, guess what? 90% of my friends right now have been flagged on Facebook. You cannot communicate anymore on many of these programs, or these platforms rather. You cannot communicate freely. So they will flag you and they will say it's misinformation, or they'll do a little box. I love the box. See more about this on, the CDC website. Okay, great. I don't want to go to the CDC website. I just want to be able to post the stuff that I want to post. Why is that such a radical thing for me to communicate my views? Well, it's misinformation. No, guess what? It's not. It's actually from a different source. It's actually from maybe a medical doctor who's had 20 years in a specified field, who knows this stuff cold, and who is certainly an expert. I just love the experts say this is misleading or false. Okay, who are your experts? Are they government agencies, and who are they in bed with? Do you know that all of the collusion, and that's a good word to use, especially after 2018. Do you know all the collusion between the CDC, the FDA, and Big Pharma, where executives from Big Pharma used to be part of the CDC or used to be part of the FDA, and how they're all incestuous and all kind of work together? And nobody thinks that's kind of weird. Like, hey, the board guy here over at Moderna used to be in this particular government agency, or now he was at one of these big corporations, and now he's working for the FDA. And you're wondering why things can be so fast-tracked, and people just go, oh, well, that means it's safe. How? Why? I mean, this is bizarre. This is bizarre behavior that we're just going out on a limb every single day. And now, with this, Dodge Omni variant, they've already got something in the works that could be out very soon. But they're telling you, by the way, to use the current bunch of things they've already put out there for something that they had some sort of omniscience about, like the formula it's going to do a great job. How do you know that? How has there been any, how can you test this? Seriously, listen to what this is. This is people saying, use the current crop of stuff that's out there for something that's supposedly a new, brand new, and they switched the name on purpose, right? Because they want you probably to be more fearful, because Omicron, or Dodge Omni, as I like to call it, is far worse than anything yet. But the other side of that coin is, don't worry. The thing we used on the Delta Dawn variant and the Alpha, Omega, Gamma, whatever, that will work great for the Dodge Omni variant. None of this makes any sense. And this guy, Erna, has a point. It's like, as I've said, you're getting your medical advice from Gene Simmons. Why? Why would you do that? Oh, well, you don't need any more freedom anymore. We just need to do this for the good. Has anyone ever watched or read Atlas Shrugged, where they talk about this whole the public good, do it for the public good, and everything basically shuts down. The whole country just shuts down because you create sloth. Nobody's willing to do anything. And then, you're basically, you're encouraging government-based monopolies. It's the Taggart Railroad. It works with the government, and the one person in the railroad that's trying to actually save it and do great things is being stymied at every turn. I mean, it's just an incredible dynamic. I went back and watched those movies, and there's so much truth in there about just like where the country, and this was, Ayn Rand, 1957, and she just knew. And it was almost like to the letter, and people can say that about Orwell and Huxley and some of the other things. But what's interesting now is the whole Atlas Shrugged model. I mean, people are just like, okay, can I just go to Florida, for instance? Like, Florida is Galt's Gulch to some degree. Like people are coming here and saying, hey, I can prosper here. Hey, I'm not going to be restricted here. And even so, these local governments are still sticking their nose in everybody's business, and they're fighting the kids at school, you know, like the curriculum and the kids being able to breathe freely, little kids. Okay. And of course, you've got pharma and the government saying, oh no, we need to do this in vitro. That's the only way to deal with this. That's basically where they're going with it. You know, hey, you thinking about getting pregnant? Before you get pregnant, take this little pill. That way you'll know for sure that there are going to be all kinds of problems ahead forever and ever for everybody. And the next generation, who knows, right? Forget about, you know, eating clean and taking supplements. Take this pill instead. That's better for you. I don't know how I got here after talking about Godsmack, but this is where it all leads people. This is big time stuff, and it just keeps coming and coming. And obviously it's affecting the music industry because of the whole concert scene, and people are locked down. They can't do what they want to do. And now you've got, you know, the state of New York declaring the state of emergency over something that's not here yet. They're literally said, hey, you know, state of emergency, lockdown, the UK, Israel, they're all locking down because they've been, all of those places, by the way, have been so successful, right? So far at dealing with this. I mean, nobody has any kind of a, I don't know, like do a mea culpa, say, you know what we've been doing, hasn't really done a good job. So maybe we need to, you know, sort of rethink this. But they don't. They double down, they triple down, they say this is great. And don't worry, in January, we got the best and brightest. They're working on a solution to this. Well, the solution, and they're going to blame all the people, by the way, that didn't do the thing, which is ridiculous. Okay. It's the stupidest reasoning that they discount the fact that you could get the thing, recover from the thing, and be stronger, better because of it, and have the ability without these companies to come and force their way into your life through government coercion to make you do something that you didn't want to do from the beginning and you still don't want to do. But yet now I heard on television this morning, you know, 3, 4 times, and they're questioning people who haven't done the latest one of them. It's like, are you insane? I mean, when does this end? I was looking at my wife going, didn't we only have to do this once in the old days? Remember, like if you wanted to do this, some people did it, some people didn't. They told you maybe you should do it. And then you took the risk and maybe you got sick, and then you went to the drugstore and you bought Dayquil or whatever, and you powered through. Seriously, that's what most people did. And yes, some people will come back and say, oh, you don't understand, this is much worse. It can be, but then it doesn't have to be. It just depends. There's a lot of variables here, and there's a lot of things that are being omitted. I mean, they're doing something a little different in India. You should check out what they're doing there for those people who are perpetually worried. But I mean, it may not be the solution for everybody. I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm a medical expert here, but here's the problem that Erna touches on, right? The people who are giving you advice and who are yelling and screaming at people and berating them and shaming them. There's a lot of shaming going on, right? Oh, you're one of those unclean people. Oh my goodness. I mean, I talked about my Thanksgiving conversation with a family member, and they're like, don't worry, we've all done the thing. I'm like, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. I'm actually worried about something else that after you've told me this, but hey, you know, it's your life. You do what you think is right. And that's, by the way, most people who are against this they're not telling you, they're not trying to stop you from doing something that you want to do that you think is best for you. But there's a lot of data that is being omitted, and I think people should have informed consent. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to wrap it up with that. People should have informed consent. And the lead singer in this band that I don't really care for, what he's saying is shut up and do your job. Shut up and entertain the people, especially now when the people are feeling hopeless and desperate. And this is something maybe that might give them a 2-hour reprieve from the madness. Of course, their phone is going to go off, right? Because they're going to need it, you know, to QR code their way into the show. And I don't know what his policy is on that stuff, but a lot of these venues that are, you know, being told this is what you have to do if you want to continue to be in this county and not pay huge amounts of tax or whatever, because this is how the government just completely controls and manipulates private business, right? So you go in there and your phone is going off because of all the Dodge Omni, you know, alerts that are coming out. And you're like, wow, I came here to have a good time and look what's happening. You know what you do with that thing? You either throw it or you leave it in your car or you leave it at home. Just do it for a few hours. Just get rid of it. Don't watch the stupid television for a while. Go outside, read a book, you know, go for a walk, breathe some fresh air. Of course, you'll see people with medical devices walking around outside, and you might pull out, you know, the rest of your hair at that point. That's happened to me a few times where I'm just like, what? And down here in Florida, you know, we're in a cool spell now, which is like 75 for the high instead of 90 every day. But you walk outside and you're like, what are you doing? I mean, this is how far it's gone. And it is cultic. It's a form of some kind of mind control. It has to be. There's no other explanation, people. This is not, it's not for your safety to walk outside alone and do that. There's no benefit to doing that. What are you protecting against? God's sunshine and God's fresh air? Anyway, I went super long on this video. I want to thank all of the people sending me stuff. Okay, just keep in mind, I'm maxed out. So again, if I'm not getting back to you or not using the material for whatever reason, I only put out usually a couple of videos a day. And I used to only do one, but sometimes a day I'm doing 3. And then I've got other stuff I work on for other channels, just so you know that. So I'm actually doing this very full time. Plus I've got kids and other stuff at home to deal with. Just want to throw that out there for everybody. So if you could be selective in the stuff, and I appreciate all the kind messages and things, but I literally can't keep up with it anymore. It's because people are looking for connection with other human beings that feel as they do, because it seems, or the perception is, it's starting to feel like you're all alone. But I don't think you're all alone. I've complained that I feel all alone. Like Eric Clapton, for instance, I think he feels like he's all alone. He's not. There are other people out here who, well, let's just say this. They have all of the information and they can make their own determination based on that. And what we're all worried about is the freedom, the liberty, and sort of the spiraling downward of humanity, which is happening. You know, they wanted Operation Warp Speed last year. Well, guess what? They got it. They got Operation Warp Speed Spiral, Death Spiral. That's what they got. And yeah, this is why I don't trust any name brand politicians. You tell me about the Orange Man, I'm going to kind of go, yeah, he's better than, but right now, yeah, would I take that back? Absolutely, because maybe you can reason with that better. But if you don't take care of the, you know, it's like treating, like he was trying to treat the symptoms of the problem, and it's analogous to everything else. The root cause is this centralized power in one place, in Washington, D.C., and in other countries, whether it's Canada at their capital, or it's, you know, whatever country in the UK, if it's London, these centers, these, you know, they have too much power, and the people in those cities, they control everybody outside of their jurisdiction because of the population. And it's mob rules rather than a constitutional republic system. All right, I'm way over here as far as time. Again, we'll talk again soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.